Hello and welcome to the 32BJ Training Fund Building Stories podcast. I'm your host, Glenn Raucher. In this podcast, we'll hear stories from people in the building services world, members, employers, 32BJ staff, and others, who will share with us their insights into the building service world today. For our inaugural podcast, I'm pleased to welcome Joel Gonzalez. I met Joel early on in my time with the Training Fund and was instantly aware of his professionalism and warmth, and obvious intelligence and competence. Joel is one of those teachers you can imagine teaching anything. He is also a 32BJ member of longstanding and a member of the Training Fund Advisory Committee, and his 360-degree view makes him an ideal first guest for the podcast. Welcome, Joel, Building Stories.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today, Glenn.
Our pleasure. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Bronx.
Where in the Bronx?
I grew up on the Grand Concourse on 167th and Grand Concourse.
What was growing up there like?
It was beautiful. A lot different than what you see today. There was a lot of playing on the sidewalk. There was many street games, kick the can, manhunt, things like that. Nowadays you look at it and everyone's inside, but it was a great thing growing up. The community was very close. There was always that neighborhood mom who was checking everyone out while the other parents were out at work, and very close, very good.
What was your first job?
My first job was at a office supply store.
And what did you do in that job?
I started there as a merchandiser and pretty much just receiving the merchandise and putting it where it belonged, lining it up nice, and helping the customers as they came in to look for their products.
What, if anything, do you remember about that job? Something notable, something that you've taken with you over time?
Organization. If I had to pick one thing from that job, it was, having things organized and in the right place, right aisles, and serving the customers, just being there for the customers.
Did you have somebody either at that job or a later job who's been a work mentor to you?
At that job, maybe not, but on a later job, yes, and that would be when I made it to the building industry. After the office job, I got recruited while I was at the office job from a Petco, from a pet shop across the street. There was a manager that would go in there to get office supplies where I was prior to it, and he asked me, like, "Listen, are you looking to leave here?" Like, I guess he liked what he saw in me, and he invited me to Petco, and for like another 25 cents an hour, I said, absolutely. and, and there I was.
What were your career goals when you first started to work?
When I first started to work, I was just working to make ends meet. I didn't really have many goals. I was just trying to find the job that would help pay the bills until I made it into the building industry. Later on in the building industry, that's when I started really thinking about goals, work-wise.
What was your first job in building services?
My first job was midnight door person.
And what was it like working? What did it do to you to work sort of when everybody else is sleeping?
I think in New York City, it's easier. There's many places out there where you can come out at 8 o'clock in the morning and find a heavy meal. So it was okay. It took a while to get used to adjust being nocturnal, if you can say. But it worked out. I think the most challenging one was when I worked split shift, where I had 2 night shifts, 2 afternoons, and 1 morning. That's where the challenge really came about.
I would imagine that your body kind of never quite knew what time it was and what you were supposed to be doing. What roles and positions have you held in the building services industry?
So I started as doorman, known now as door person, and then I became porter. And then from porter, I went to superintendent.
And how long have you been a super?
I started in 2004, so a good 21
years.
21 years.
Your career as a super is old enough to drink. But of course, as a good super, you would counsel anyone to not do that. What has being a member of 32BJ meant to you?
I would say a good brotherhood, strength and unity. I take pride in being in the union. I had a little taste of it prior to being a union member myself. My father was a also a union 32 BJ union member,
Hmm.
so I'm like second generation now.
When did you first become a 32 BJ member?
1998.
So just a couple years before you became a super.
Yes,
How soon afterwards did you start taking classes?
I started about a year after. I had a superintendent who encouraged me to take the classes. He noticed when I was porter, I'd ask some questions on how to do certain things or what he was doing. He saw that I was interested in like the handy part of what he did, and so he brought up the union, the training fund, and said that there were free classes out there and that I was young and it wouldn't hurt to take some classes and maybe do something with it.
Do you remember the first class you took?
Basic carpentry in Avenue of America.
And what do you remember about that class? How did it feel walking into the classroom for the first time?
It was amazing. It was surreal. Like there was a 12 by 12 room that had everything that you needed. That it was like an apartment in a 12 by 12 cube, and it had the bathtub, the window, the breaker panel, the saddles, the tiles, the paint. You could smell work if you wanted to call it that. It was really it was really nice. I liked it.
When did you transition to becoming an instructor?
I transitioned in 2018.
So you were a working member for about, from the time you joined the union, for almost 20 years, and then you became an instructor. How did that come about?
I had an instructor who I took a few classes with, and he approached me and he's like, Joel, one of the things that he brought up in one of the classes that I took with him was setting short-term and long-term goals. And he brought up, the idea of me becoming an instructor. He's mentioned that throughout the classes that I've been in, I've had a lot that I've offered to the classroom. And he said I should set that as one of my goals. And I was like, huh, never thought of that. And I sat on it for just a few months. And then, without telling him, I was still taking a class with him, but without telling him, I went and I put in my resume and showed my interest. And that following year, I surprised him at a welcome back.
What happened at the welcome back?
At
You,
the welcome back,
you surprised the instructor.
I surprised the instructor when I once I was hired to go. I had to go to my first welcome back, where you meet with all the instructors all around, and we do some training, and we get all these tools and different ways of delivering courses. And with my luck, the section that I was assigned for training, he happened to be sitting in that room. And when I walked in, he was just all smiles and such a real hug and gratitude that he had to see me there. It was a very good feeling.
And do you feel in some ways that you can pass that along to other members who you see something in as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. For me, it's growth. To be able to pass it on to someone else and watch somebody else. Literally getting goosebumps just saying it. Watching someone else succeed because of a few seeds and a little tool here and there that you put in their life. It's a beautiful feeling.
What was the hardest thing about you becoming an instructor? What was the most challenging thing for you?
The most challenging thing about becoming an instructor was having the confidence of standing in front of different students on a day to day. For me, it started with students that I would have for the whole year. So in the beginning, it was just getting to know the students. But then whenever I had different classes, my challenge was, getting to know the student and I didn't want to let them down. So it was hoping that I would be able to deliver. And at the end of the day, I'd find myself delivering pretty good, pretty well.
How has your teaching evolved over time? Like, what is the difference between Joel Gonzalez teacher when you started and Joel Gonzalez teacher now?
When I started, my main focus was to deliver what was what I was supposed to give. So whatever the assignment was, that's what I was there to do. And I focused on whatever the material was. And today, I focus on that student that's walking in the door as they walk in the door for the first time. What's going through their mind? Why are they here? What are they here to take the class for? And maybe what's going on today, right? Are we here to learn something because we're being forced to? Are we here because we want to grow? Um, are we going through challenges in life while we're sitting in this classroom? And what's my way of being able to deliver to multiple people all at once? Because not everyone picks things up the same way. Some people are more of a reader, some people would like more of a lecture, others like more videos. So it's kind of like getting all of these little flavors for, let's say, 10 different people, and hoping that it all gets into everyone.
Can you share a particular success story that you had a hand in bringing about?
Yes, so in the training fund, there was a student who was a concierge, and he wasn't sure if he would be able to become a handy person while taking all of the classes, because he said he didn't have the hands-on experience, and he was afraid that if he was hired as a handy person, that he wouldn't succeed. And just giving him that encouragement, that motivation of reminding him, as I remind all the other students, that we all have our first time. It's a lot for someone to think that they won't be hired because they don't have the background, they don't have the experience. And I think once you can embed that in everyone's head, that every super had their first building, every handyman had their first handyman position, and just to take everything that you're learning in the training fund with you and know that it's okay to make mistakes. People grow from mistakes. I've made a few of my own, and my thing is, as long as I don't make the same mistake twice, I learn from that mistake and I use it to to better myself, whether it's in a repair or whatever it is. I remember once when I first started opening a wall looking for a trap and it wasn't there. And after that, I knew exactly where to open when I had to. And so this person was pretty scared. And about a year later, gave me a call and said, Joel, I got this handyman position and I'm so excited and I've been doing great. And I told them, well, they told me first that they saw that I didn't have the experience, but they had seen the posts that I've been putting up because I encourage them to post on Indeed and LinkedIn, their success when they accomplish a class or something. So someone saw somebody on the World Wide Web that wanted to grow and called them. And he said, I told them that I really didn't have hands on experience. The only thing that I had right now was what I've been learning at the training fund. And they said, it's okay. We have other handy persons here that are going to take you under their wing and show you the ropes. And he was just so happy. And one of the things that he mentioned was like, you were right. There's always a there's always a first time. And it's just such a great feeling to hear someone grow, based on your shares, and encouragement. There's sometimes you sit in a room and you can have someone who just doesn't think that they can do it and they just need a little push, someone to have a little faith, a little hope in them, and like real hope. And once they hold on to that, the sky's the limit.
I think that's a great place to end our conversation. Joel, I want to say thank you so much for being the first guest on the 32BJ Training Fund Building Stories podcast. Thanks so much.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
If you're a 32BJ member and want to take classes in person or remotely with one of our amazing instructors like Joel, or take a self-paced class online, visit 32bjmemberportal.org and register or log into your account. You can also call us at 888-284-3225. Whether you're a member or not, thanks for listening.